Like, I would genuinely rather have JD Vance win in 2028 than somebody like Gavin Newsom. It is more damaging to destroy in people the hope that we might have a better presidency one day by electing Gavin Newsom and showing them that they will not, than it would be to have disgraced, 23% support rating JD Vance get in and then do nothing, Just let JD Vance sit there for 4 years with an uncooperative Congress, To fix it, you need to primary and be active in getting rid of Dems who are bad. Yeah, but there are limits to that too. Look what happened to AOC. Like, AOC is and was and so on a good candidate, but she's been folded in like way the fuck too much for my comfort,
Oh no. My candidate's becoming politically effective and I'm a leftist. I need to abandon them immediately.
Pretty sure that AOC just runs like or not runs, I shouldn't say, but runs with like the J Street line on like support for Israel, defensive weaponry and stuff like that. We need like a demolitionist in the White House, a proper wrecker.
Can you explain why these people hate Gavin so much? I literally don't get it at all. Same with people saying he has too much baggage. What the fuck is the supposed baggage? I can only communicate this so many times. I know that I don't know how much my audience believes me or doesn't. I feel like it's like 70-30 at this point. 70% believe me, 30% don't. People do not like liberals when they are not liberals. So if you are like a communist/socialist type, or if you're a fascist type, okay, these people are outside of the liberal establishment. They don't believe in liberalism, so they hate all of these people, and they think that any liberal candidate is just going to be a stopgap, and it's just going to hold off any true socialist revolution or proletariat revolution. So they hate all of these people. Like I've said this before, you have your traditional parties in the United States of America, where you've got Democrats and you've got Republicans. Like inside of this spectrum here, like these would all be, I don't know why in the United States, well, everybody does this to be fair with political party names. They pick random fucking words. These are all liberals. Like Republicans are classical liberals. Democrats are classical liberals. Now in the United States, we call these parties the liberal and the conservative party for whatever fucking reason, just to make things more confusing internationally. But these are all liberals. But socialists and communists, okay, or I don't know. They never have real names over here. They always call themselves something else. But fascists, MAGA, neo-Nazis, whatever the fuck. I don't know if there's probably better, more formal Christian nationalists or whatever. These people are not in the liberal establishment of things. They don't like the concept of like freedom of speech and checks and balances and like super democratically done elections and protections for minorities and all of that cringe stuff. They don't like that stuff. So anytime these guys, for whatever reason, these guys online are very pragmatic, right? So all of them support their candidate, right? Your Nick Fuenteses and your weirdo centristy types or whatever, who wouldn't necessarily be over here, but anybody that's not necessarily within this political spectrum, they all support the Republican candidate if they're anywhere over there. But these guys all hate the Democratic candidate because they just want their little socialist communist club, and they view these people as being relatively similar. Also, libertarians. Libertarian means less than socialist means this day. I don't trust the term libertarian. There are very few. If they're like part of the Cato Institute, then they're a libertarian. But 95% of the people today that call themselves libertarians are just MAGA or conservatives. They don't even know what libertarian. The easiest way to test somebody for a libertarian ideology is to ask them, "Hey, you're a libertarian. What do you think about immigration?" And if they start going like, "Oh, we need to lock it down way more. We need to be way more," okay, that's fine. You can have those beliefs. It's fine. Also, you can think that you're not a libertarian though. There's nothing that you believe in that has anything to do with libertarianism. You just like that word because somehow conservatives have gotten every group of people, even people who think it's cringe to identify as conservative, to vote for and support the conservative party. I don't know why or how, but this is just cringe, yeah. What did he even say? What did he want here? Wait, hold on.
That's why I keep saying, like, I would genuinely rather have JD Vance win in 2028 than somebody like Gavin Newsom. It is more damaging to destroy in people the hope that we might have a better presidency one day by electing Gavin Newsom and showing them that they will not.
Why?
Than it would be to have disgraced, 23% support rating JD Vance get in and then do nothing,
Isn't that Trump right now, though?
JD Vance sit there for 4 years with an uncooperative Congress,
Why do you shit on centrists so hard? I understand the libertarian hate. These people rolled over on every belief. But don't centrists just not want to hold this cringe baggage of either party? Yeah, but they end up like shilling for one side so hard. I don't even like to admit this because it's humiliating publicly and it's embarrassing and it's cringe. Okay, I hate this. Okay, but I think in a fair and an actual world where people like have some concept politically of what's going on, I'm pretty sure I would be considered a centrist, right? I'm a very big guns rights person. I'm a very big free market guy. Like I'm probably, I don't know where I would be at, center left or center right in terms of economics these days. But I'm like a super huge stand for minority rights, including trans stuff for even for minors, or at least for the male to female ones. There's just like I have positions that I feel very strongly about on both sides. I think I probably lean more to the left in terms of policy wise for the Democrats. The Republican policy is not existent at the moment. But like when people call themselves centrists, like this is what I would imagine. If you're a centrist, you might not necessarily belong to each part or to a certain political party, or you won't carry water for a party, but like you'll still be willing to admit when one party is more unhinged than the other, right? Like I do an apolitical show. I have an apolitical YouTube channel insofar as I don't have a political party that I have to be beholden to. You know, like if I was on the Daily Wire, I kind of have to be conservative. If I was part of the Young Turks, I kind of have to be whatever the fuck is going on with the Young Turks. But I'm just Stephen Bonnell. I'm just Destiny. I can say whatever the fuck I want. If I want to defend cops, you know, one day, if I want to defend Rittenhouse, and then the next day I think that ICE fucked up on something, I can say this without fear of alienating an audience that comes to me for a certain type of political reinforcement, right? I'm not on Fox News. I'm not on CNN. I don't do that where you're here to get a certain political reinforcement. You're just here to get my political takes on things, for better or for worse. But like for a lot of these other guys, it's like they think centrist means I have to agree that both sides are equally good and equally bad in different ways. And it's like, that's retarded. That's not centristy. That's literally being retarded. You see two things and you think the truth always has to exist in the middle of these things. That's not true. That's not always true. We can name any two positions between flat earthers and round earthers and say the truth doesn't have to exist in the middle of these people, or anti-vaxxing or pro-vaccines. The truth doesn't have to exist in the middle of these people. That's crazy. That's just being intellectually lazy. You're looking at two people fighting because you're too lazy to do any research. You just stake out a position in the middle, assuming that you must be closer to the truth than either of the other sides. And you're smug about it. You think that you're better than both sides because you're not beholden to one or the other, even though you've just staked out a position that's ostensibly defined by the two extremes. You're letting them define your position, because the more extreme one side gets, the more necessarily your opinion is going to change, because you want to remain hopelessly stuck in the middle of the two. I just think it's stupid. Yeah, they want the authenticity of being nonpartisan while still being partisan. That's the real issue. Is they'll say, well, I call balls and strikes when I see them. How many of these centristy type people, for all the walking back that they're doing now, you know, on supporting Trump, which is bullshit, but whatever. Like, how many of them have admitted, I see that Flagrant podcast guy or whatever, have any of these guys admitted yet, okay, not that Trump is bad, not that Trump is doing totally unforeseeable things that we could have never done, have any of them admitted yet, Kamala would have been better? I should have voted for Kamala. I should have told my audience to vote for Kamala. That's not even an extreme take. That's the bare bones reasonable position. And even that is like a fucking fight to get people there. Has any of the centristy bro podcasters said that yet? What do you think is the informal origin of the dual party logic? Are Americans afraid infinite plurality of parties? I don't know. I'd have to read up more on that. I do know that in the founding of America, I think most or some of the founding fathers didn't like the idea of political parties, but I think political parties sprung up immediately, right? Like, I think Washington, wasn't he part? Like, I think they basically came about instantaneously, if not in the first election, then the second one, or for the second president. Hanania talking about your debate on election night and why he was wrong. Here's me debating Destiny's panel. He's already admitted this. He's already said this. Hanania is fair, at least. I think Hanania has earned his centrist label, like in the positive way. Because even when he was on the, I'm voting for Trump's side, he was always quick to throw a jab when he thought Republicans were being stupid. Like, he's never been dishonest about the state of MAGA. Like, even when he was voting for Trump, he was very honest about the idea that like MAGA has a huge problem with intellectual stock, that they're drafting in way too many low IQ people, that they're going to have a huge issue with uneducated retards supporting the party in the future. Like, even when he was a pro-Trump supporter, I think he was honest about the state of the party. But I was saying that I think Hanania is interesting because he shows what happens when you get kind of like tornadoed down into or funneled down into these bad information pipelines, and you just start seeing every single day, every day you just get all this information about how horrible and evil the Democrats are and how based and awesome Trump is. And at some point it becomes hard to overcome all of that, where it's like, is it really the case that this could be true? Is it really the case that maybe the Hunter Biden stuff is all bullshit? Is it really the case that, that Trump is corrupt or did bad things in Ukraine or whatever? Like, that's like inconceivable because you see so much information, depending on where you're at, pointing in the other direction, that It's hard to even imagine that, yeah. I saw a clip of the Andrew podcast guy on Pac-Man that actually did just admit Kamala would have been better, and he regretted that he was so pro-Trump. All the panelists agree they fucked up too. Well, that's good at least. I mean that's the bare minimum, but I mean, hey, okay. That's a step in the right direction. The only issue is that like all of this was so easily foreseeable. Like I hope that there is a come to Jesus moment on like what does our information network look like that we were all so hoodwinked, because none of the Trump stuff is surprising, right? Like all of it was easy. It was just so obvious. All of it was so obvious. I think Hanania's hope was that there was some kind of high IQ right-wing tech bro faction that would keep the dumb MAGA faction in check. I understand that, actually. I think that the reason why he thought that, and I think the reason why people thought that, I think that there's a couple of, I talk about these things, the truisms that need to be challenged. I think the issue is there are a few truisms that you have to dispel in your mind in order to understand why Trump 2 was going to be horrible. The first one is bureaucracy is bad. No, that's not true. Bureaucracy is the way that you get shit done as a large organization. The bureaucracy, the deep state, whatever the fuck you want to call them, is what saved us during Trump 1. Trump came in not understanding how government worked and thought he could do whatever he wanted, but he couldn't because there were too many institutional checks on his insane authoritarian way of governing, and there were too many people who believed in the United States and believed in the U.S. project and believed in democracy and rule of law and checks and balances to let that happen. But if you start from the position of bureaucracy is always bad, then that thing is deleted from your mind. It's hard for you to even imagine, well, what would be different between Trump 1 and Trump 2? Bureaucracy is always bad no matter what. Also, if you have this idea that both sides are the same and they're equally corrupt, well, if both sides are the same and equally corrupt, could Trump 2 really be that much worse than Biden, or really be that much worse than even Trump 1 or any other president or Obama or Bush? Like, if they're all equally bad, then who cares? So, we'll try Trump and we'll see what happens. Those are two huge truisms that most people would have to overcome, that both sides are not the same, they don't govern the same, and that bureaucracy is always a bad thing, that you never need people who know how to do shit in an organization. These are two huge hurdles you have to overcome. People just don't know how the government works or what's all required to keep the government functioning. I don't know what Hanania's level of insight is or understanding was there for that stuff, but